Let's get on to the next question. Alright, so there's a fill in the blank with 5 options. So the blank of a lens or a mirror is a rotational symmetry axis of the surfaces. So we have 5 options: light ray, paraxial ray approximation, optic axis, focal point, and focal plane. So whenever we think of a lens diagram, it would look something like this. So we have the optic axis, and then we have the lens over here. And then we have, let's say, a focal point F, and intersecting that will be the focal plane. So here we have option focal point, which is over here, and then the focal plane would just be intersecting the focal point perpendicularly. So here it's asking for what is the thing of a lens or mirror that gives you rotational symmetry, or is the rotational symmetry axis of the surfaces. So here we know this lens gets intersected by the optic axis in the center. So we can see how the answer is kind of the optic axis, because if we rotate this around the lens, and the lens will be kind of just, if you think about it, it would be like a convex or concave kind of circular object, or cylindrical object that's either concaved in or concaved out. And it would be rotating around the optic axis. So here we can see that the rotational symmetry axis of the surfaces is the optic axis. Option A just says light ray, so that doesn't really make any sense. Light rays would be like kind of just bouncing off everywhere and kind of bending towards the focal point, or around the focal point based on the object distance and the image distance. Secondly, B, paraxial ray approximation. That's kind of more of a like method rather than describing like the axis, which is what we're looking for. Optic axis is the correct answer. Focal point is just the point, which doesn't really make sense in this situation. Focal plane is just the perpendicular plane over here, which goes through the focal point. So let's look at the attempted solution by the student. So they select the correct answer. The optical axis of the mirror or lens is a rotational symmetry axis of the surfaces. It is an imaginary line that gives the path of propagation of light. In the lens and mirrors, this imaginary axis passes through the center of curvature. Also, it coincides with the axis of rotational symmetry. It is also named principal axis. So yeah, so optic axis and principal axis are the same thing. If a light ray passes along the optical axis, it remains orthogonal to the surface. Then the path will be undeviated. So here, correct answer. Excellent work. And we'll mark that as correct.